There's no end to the deepfake menace after Rashmika Mandanna and Katrina Kaif. Now actor Kajol is the latest victim of a deepfake. The digitally altered video of the actress shows her changing clothes and it has gone viral on social media. In the clip, Kajol's face was superimposed on a video of English social media influencer. The original video was uploaded on TikTok on the 5th of June as part of the Get Ready With Me trend. The video is morphed and made to look like the Bollywood actress is changing her dress on camera. Now, this recent deepfake of the actor has reignited concerns surrounding deepfake videos. Today, Prime Minister Modi also flagged the misuse of artificial intelligence for creating deepfake videos, calling it a matter of big concern. The Prime Minister said he has asked the ChatGPT team to flag these deepfakes and issue warnings when such videos are circulated on the internet. He's also recalled how he himself was a target of a deepfake, citing a morph video showing him doing Garba and singing a Garba song. The PM was addressing journalists at the BJP's Diwali Milan program in Delhi, where he also asked the media to educate people about this issue. The PM said that both citizens and media need to be very vigilant when it comes to the misuse of artificial intelligence for deepfakes, as the problem can turn into a grave crisis.
आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के कारण और उसमें भी डीप फेक के कारण जो एक नया संकट आ रहा है, भारत का बहुत बड़ा वर्ग ऐसा है कि उसके पास वेरिफिकेशन के लिए या ऑथेंटिफाई करने के लिए कोई उसके पास पैरेलल व्यवस्था नहीं है। अगर लोगों को एजुकेट कर सकते हैं हम हमारे कार्यक्रमों के द्वारा, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस कैसे काम कर रहा है, डीप फेक क्या कर सकता है और उसमें जो चाहे वो बना सकते हैं जी। मैंने अभी एक वीडियो देखा जिसमें मैं गरबे गा रहा हूं।
Other politicians and cyber experts have also echoed similar concerns, even expressing apprehensions of the deepfake menace spreading in time to come.
The next few years is going to be an era of all deepfake-based scams, whether it is like, the deepfake videos, what we saw of the two actresses, or whether it is going to be the voice cloning or deep news. This AI-based cybercrimes are just going to get worse day by day.
Deepfake is a concern and AI is a concern. So I'm not sure how that's going to be regulated. The thing about like the internet, people have like VPNs and stuff or whatever they use to hide their IP. So I find it I think it's quite difficult to find them. But yes, everyone should report any website or anything that they find that looks damaging or it causes defamation and is using anyone's image illegally. So
you're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
For this, let's go across to our guest. Joining us with us is Ajaygarh Digital Head Anand Anand. With us also is Manvi Taneja, actress. With us is Sanjay Jha, author. Let me start with you first, Manvi. We've been discussing this over the past several weeks since that first video of Rashmika Mandanna came to the fore, and now it appears that this is becoming a trend. It's so easy, it appears, to access these tools for creating deepfakes that celebrity after celebrity is facing this kind of action. And this raises the concern. While we've seen the government earlier come out and say, yes, there are provisions with which action can be taken, the fact that, by the time that action is taken, perhaps it can cause a huge amount of harm to the person concerned. In this case, it's a celebrity. Tomorrow, it could be a common man. Manvi.
Absolutely. A reputation is at stake if such kind of videos are uploaded on a social media platform. But I normally take it in a different perspective. You need to understand whenever an application is launched or maybe a site is launched or maybe there is some amendment in the application or site, there has to be a quality check which needs to go through, and then you can just open it for a normal people to use it. But here I think it never happened in this case. It was just launched and people started using it. I seriously wonder that how it was given an initial go-ahead. It is not only dangerous for our society, but yes, it is also a threat to a nation, as you just said just 2 minutes back. See, there are multiple points. If you look at deepfake, it can be misused in multiple ways. Imagine my picture, my portfolio, and someone else's as in picture. So it can all create a fuss. And what I need to, as in, what is bothering me is that who is associated with this? Is there any lobby who's trying to support these kind of apps? So we need to understand this. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can, Manvi. And in fact, that's a very relevant question. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Complete your point.
We need to, as in, analyze, and we need to come to a conclusion that is there any particular lobby or some association or someone who is trying to support these kind of app. Because when you try to upload a picture on a social media platform, maybe YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it has a firewall. It does give you a copyright if you try to put someone else content. It has few parameters like you cannot upload any sexual content, you cannot upload anything which is abusive, you cannot upload something which hurts someone's religious sentiments. So how come this kind of app is such active and people is trying to use? No, but there is no firewall to it.
Well, you know, the concern at this point of time, Manvi, is that perhaps this technology has become so common, so available, that there are people who are able to do that and in fact cloak it in the guise of anonymity of social media. Let's talk to Ajay Garg, who's the digital head of Anand & Anand, the law firm. Mr. Garg, you've been associated with the government in the past. Now, what Manvi is talking about are very real concerns. But today, has it come to such a pass that this technology is more easily available? Perhaps it was a very expensive or very focused technology earlier. In today's situation, would you say that the bigger concern now is the easy availability and thereby the misuse of this kind of artificial intelligence technology?
You're absolutely right in that sense that the technology has evolved to a level that now creating deepfakes and misuse of technology for misappropriating the rights of citizens as well as known personalities has become very common. And the cost as well as the time taken to create a deepfake, it doesn't take hours. It takes a few minutes to create a deepfake video of any known person or known personality. Just you need to have one photograph there available with you on the internet or otherwise. And that's the real problem, that the magnitude. The second what Malvika said was, which is also very pertinent to understand, is that how do you actually stop this menace? This menace can, the magnitude of content on the internet, which goes into thousands of terabytes, it's very difficult to actually monitor it on a real-time basis, and that's what is the pretext taken by the large tech platforms on which they are loaded. Understand, most of the time, the person who's loading this content either is not identifiable or is not actually loading it from our geographical boundaries, because internet being a borderless world, and that's it. So it has now become the responsibility of the intermediaries, which actually most of the time take recourse of the safe harbor provisions of the Article 79, and now they need to be, and as our Honorable State Minister said today, that the time has come that the responsibilities under the IT Act needs to be fixed with such intermediaries, and the safe harbor provisions cannot be a pretext of stopping this. This has to be.
Okay, that's an important point. Let's go point by point, because there are a lot of aspects of this. What can common people do, for instance? What are the safeguards that need to be taken? What are the potential sectors that are more vulnerable? We'll be discussing all that. But let's go point by point in terms of the legal architecture. Let me go across to Sanjay Jha. Abhijit Ayar Mitra also joining us on the broadcast. Sanjay Jha, what the Prime Minister today said is a very important issue. And in fact, here you have celebrities in case after case of celebrity. Are you of the view that the laws that exist at the moment either need to change or need to be more strongly implemented, or is it the intermediaries who need to be made more accountable, as our panelist Mr. Ajay Garg is suggesting? Sanjay.
Madhav, first and foremost, you need to be congratulated for discussing a very serious topic. And I do believe that while some entertainment personalities are facing the brunt of this deepfake at the moment, don't forget that we have an election coming up. And I believe that democracies are going to be increasingly at high risk in the age of artificial intelligence. And, you know, this is not just me, it's not rhetoric. You should read some of the historians like Yuval Noah Harari, who actually talks about how there could be an impending catastrophe or an apocalyptic doom if there is no proper regulation. And you raised a very good point, Madhav. Does India have regulation? The straight and simple answer is no. Even as we talk, the Americans and the European Union are talking about bringing about what I call as a reasonable framework of ensuring that the chat GPTs of the world don't fly off the handle. Because you're not talking about just fake news anymore, right? You're talking about an ability of an algorithm to generate content on its own. So the risk is absolutely humongous. And here is a critical point. Political parties, that I have to the statement, don't misread that, when political parties are very often accused of creating their own digital disinformation infrastructure, and we all know what exactly is happening even in India today, that creates a very dangerous situation. And here is the truth, Madhav, that I can give you a number of examples where today you have Rahul Gandhi's audio being twisted. You'll have Narendra Modi complaining that he's been shown dancing. In America, for example, and I'll give you that one example, a very famous US House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, was shown to be drunk and slurring during a speech. And guess what happened? It was a deep fake. President Trump, knowing it was fake, retweeted that.
Okay.
And as I think Malvika mentioned a little earlier, that is the real fear.
Okay.
Meta, Facebook refused to bring it down.
All right.
Saying
All right.
that even if it was
You're talking about the fear. At the moment, it's in the domain of the personal, although they are celebrities, their personal spaces, their personal image, what have you, being violated. And that personal concern could become a very real political one. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, your response to Sanjay Jha when he says that if these images of morphing or deep fakes, as one chooses to call it, gets into the realm of our political leaders, that's a very, very slippery slope of disinformation that we could potentially be looking at, he says. And therefore, there needs to be stronger regulation.
Madhav, that is a very first world concern. The concern in a country like India, where, we're 2 centuries living side by side, in the villages of India, we're the 7th century, and in the cities of India, we're the 21st century. What ends up happening is, in villages, disinformation can incite violence like that. You've seen things, stories spread, blasphemy stories or lots of stories that spread where mobs accumulate immediately. In the West, the propensity for mobs to accumulate isn't that great. So their legal frameworks will be very, very different in a first world country. And the legal frameworks we look to have to be developed sui generis for India. We can't be looking at the West for developing them. We need to be looking at a legal framework completely within India, number one. Number two, the problem is historically with things like this, every time you've seen a disruptive new technology come about, the problem is we've always seen a lag in legislative framework, in even a responsive legislative framework. Some things are legislated, but they don't understand the technology or the scope of the technology and what it can do. It takes almost 20 to 25 years to bridge that gap. Right, because the rule breakers are always way ahead of the people guarding the goalposts in that sense.
True.
So we need to really sit down and look at the social consequences for India much more carefully, especially given how prone rural areas are to sort of flash mobs in that sense.
Okay, let me get in a word from Mr. Garg on that. Mr. Garg, there are two differing viewpoints. One, you have Sanjay Jha, who feels there's not enough regulation. He says that what about its potential political misuse by parties, given there is a propensity for fake news even in our country. Abhijit Iyer Mitra says, no, the larger concern is its misuse in terms of creating rumors or situations that can lead to, sudden flash mobs or law and order situation getting out of control. What should be the policy priority for someone like you who has served in the IT ministry in the past?
I fully agree with Mr. Jha as well as Abhijit on these 2 points, that this misuse of internet, which was there originally right from the day internet has become a very important social media proprietor for social media platform. But with AI coming, the problem has grown exponentially, and that's the problem. Now, what exists within the framework of the law? In the framework of the law, if you look at the deepfakes in the present context of fake videos and where affecting the personalities, we have what we did with the Anil Kapoor ji, that we got a job owner order of pulling it down. The IT Act talks about 36 hours, and as you rightly said in the order, most of the harm is done if 36 hours is the time frame which you are looking at. You have to look at it in real time, or as the Honorable High Court has said, 2 hours. That's one positive development. But yes, the IT Act says 36 hours, which needs to be looked.
So what can the common man do, in your view? What is it that the common man can do if they are affected? Because 36 hours is bad enough if, say, for instance, there is some kind of a crime committed, an ATM theft, and a person's face is imposed on that. What does the individual who's a victim of such a crime do?
The victim has got only one, that he goes to a cyber cell, registers a complaint with the police, and the police takes some criminal action against the proprietors. But in most of the times, it's difficult to catch hold of the proprietors, and they need to have a legal recourse in asking the intermediaries to pull down such content. Now, understand this. And pulling down, you'd need to go to the courts. The common man is with the problem that it takes an effort and money to go to the court, and that's the problem. There needs to be a Joe Donner agreement that once someone has reported it, and it is the social media. But the bigger thing is that the most of the harm is done by that time.
Right.
It needs the social media platforms, which now control around 80% or more of the traffic on the internet, to actually use technology which, and as the Honorable Prime Minister has rightly said, that if AI is creating such harm, AI also has the potential to stop such harm.
Right.
And I will urge the social media platforms to...
All right, and I think the government's already in conversation with several of the social media giants, but Sanjay wants to respond to you on the point you just made. Yes, Sanjay.
Well, let me give you one example, Madhav. You remember the wrestlers' protest, which they were protesting against the BJP MP. When they were arrested and put in a police van, you saw how AI worked. Their faces were morphed, and instead of showing anguish and stress and angst, they were shown to be laughing and smiling, and the attempt was being made to look at it as if the wrestlers were faking it, and it was nothing but a political stunt. Now, that is a very evident case before all of us of how politicians are already abusing it. Already the political, shall we say, the IT cells of political parties are in the act. So here is the problem. I think the gentleman who spoke before Mr. Garg came on talked about the fact of rural situations being more susceptible. Absolutely right. But that's exactly the point I'm making. When we talk of political susceptibility, it's about actually inciting violence. It's about creating mob attacks. It's about spreading disinformation that can create anger, hostility, and lead to a certain calamity. Or worse, it can lead to ghettoization. So I think the two are interlinked. They are not, you can't really dehyphenate a political problem from, from the larger mass. I mean, that's really the whole game, right? Influencing public opinion. Right. So I would just like to make one point. I completely agree with Mr. Garg that the challenge for India is going to be, can you make the social media giants, these big tech, actually take out or take away these videos? Because by the time they are fact-checked, the videos have probably already been seen by millions, and the political party has leveraged it already for its electoral gain or playing towards vote.
Abhijit Iyer Mitra, how can we prevent its misuse? In fact, Sanjay gives the example of the young wrestlers who were protesting in the national capital, and how there was a deep fake of them, sitting, and then there was a faked photograph of them allegedly smiling after their arrest, which they say was used to create a certain political narrative. How can we prevent that from happening? Because we are at a time when there are state assembly elections on. We're also in the run-up to the Lok Sabha polls. Is this something that could then potentially have a political implication as well? Abhijit.
Look, absolutely. But there's nothing you can do technologically to counter this. At best, you can, legislate it, but then it's like, legislating the waves. There's that famous story of King Canute, the Danish king of England, who, because he was told that, the king, everybody listens to the king, he goes to the ocean and he says to the waves, listen to me. And he orders them waves to stop hitting his feet. They don't. So unfortunately, technology is like that. You see, we don't have the technological means right now. We have the legislative will. The problem is, is, will it be enforced? So there's a lot of ways of overcoming this as well. What if you do it through, VPNs and masked addresses and things, and go to different places and do it and introduce it from hidden handles outside? I think one of the things proposed, which is going intermediary, is very dangerous, and I'll tell you why. Because it shifts the governmental responsibility onto a private player. That's never a good idea. The governmental and law and order responsibility should always stay with the government, or else you end up having a 2020 style election where, in the name of fighting disinformation, all the Hunter Biden laptop story were all suppressed, where the entire media essentially acted as censor, jury, executioner all in one. Right. So we all know how that was sort of counter-rigged in the name of fighting rigging. So this is also things we need to worry about.
Absolutely. And in fact, let me take that question across to Manvi. Manvi, a very doomsday scenario that Abhijit is actually predicting. Of course, he'll say is being realistic, but it is difficult. It is very difficult for our governments to be that much ahead of technology, and perhaps that's why this issue has to be taken up that much more seriously, because we're talking about, regular social media images, etc., causing huge amount of user harm in terms of young minds, impressionable minds, so on and so forth, in terms of their image. And here we have an entirely different problem of these deep fakes, which would cause huge amount of irreparable harm, not just to individuals, but to our social fabric as well. Manvi.
See, it's high time. I think cyber cells should come into picture. And as I was listening to other fellow panelists, they were saying that it has some tact. They action it after 36 hours. They need to reduce that time, because see, the time they take to resolve the issue, by that time the image is damaged, everything is ruined. It is very difficult for a person to recreate that image once it is ruined. One can indulge into any anti-social activity also. And I will also give an example, since I'm coming from a film background. We do go on our shoot, we do have a video shoots and photo shoots, and when we try to I am just trying to give an example that when we try to get the pictures edited or maybe the video edit, you can make out the photos are edited, you can make out the videos are edited, but here it is very difficult for a common man to actually analyze the video is real, because you cannot authenticate it. First, you need the person will, if you see such a video on a social media platform, suppose it's my video, you see on a social media platform, you'll go and complain it. It will take some time to authenticate. Once it's authenticated, everything is ruined. So it is very difficult to actually analyze that it is the application is used, deepfake is used. People will say, no, ye to yahi video mein tha. So it is very difficult. I think since, as I said earlier, it is not only threat to our society, but it is also a threat to a nation, as elections are also coming. So it can be misused.
Well, absolutely. It can be misused. And in fact, at a time when there is conflict, there's all sorts of things happening at the same time. Mr. Garg, what would you like to tell the people, the common viewers, in your view? Because this is a very real concern that Manvi is expressing. And I was about to ask you this. What can the common man do to try and identify if it's a deepfake or not? Is there something that, in your view, a person can use as a tool to try and perhaps separate or at least create some kind of suspicion? Are there those tools available as well at the moment?
There are tools available for that at this moment to identify the deepfake content that is there. But to be very frank about it, the common man has no capacity to use them and identify them. The important thing that needs to be understood, that for a common man, what I will see, you should be cognizant of the fact that you double check the facts that are there on the internet. Like what I will say is, consider any information on the internet to be susceptible to a deepfake incident, and that's the view that I think a common man needs to take. Now, as Sanjay said, there are two problems. Right now the problem is about the known personalities being misappropriated or a nuisance related to them,
right,
which has created this present debate. But I think it is shifting to the political parties. So what I feel the solution lies in the fact that most of these political parties have a designated IT cell and some sort of a watermark or some sort of a technology infusion into the official content by these IT cells should be injected as a first attempt in the 2024 elections to identify that they come from official handles.
Well, unfortunately, the argument in our political parties is that each party's or their rivals' IT cell is creating fake news. That's unfortunately where our political discourse is at the moment. So we'll have to leave it there because we're completely out of time. Majbiji Tahir, Mitra, Ajay Garg, Manvi Taneja, Sanjay Jha, thanks so much for joining us. This has been an informative debate, but we certainly hope that these deepfakes which have been found out because the original content was available on the internet. What about those deepfakes where the content may not perhaps be potentially available? What happens in such situations? These are some very, very disturbing but very important questions indeed. The Prime Minister and several others speaking out on this issue. Let's see how our authorities now deal with the menace of deepfakes, particularly in the era of artificial intelligence. Thanks so much for joining us.